All right, class, what is it that martial arts helps us to develop?
Huck, two, and spit on that thing. You get me?
Good as Scott.
That's good. You memorized that very quickly.
This might take me 100 years, but I'm going to go over all the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger episodes, starting with episode 1, and we're just going to talk about them for a little bit. You know what? I might even extend it past Mighty Morphin and go all the way through to the Z-Wave that ended in, what was it, In Space. Might even touch on a few other things, but I can kiss monetization on these videos goodbye because Hasbro is not going to allow that, but it's fun. Episode 1 is titled Day of the Dumpster, and we start out on the moon with the dumpster that Rita and her little crew was sealed in by Zordon, which we don't know that yet. But have you ever stopped to wonder what the hell is this planet in the background? Because it's not Earth. Our viewpoint is on the moon, so what is this? Backtrack just a little bit, and this might be an ongoing thing, but we're going to check out the Zoo Ranger footage, watch it, and compare it a little bit with the first opening scene of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So the original footage, apparently there's a planet called Nemesis that every so often, I guess, gets into air orbit. The space shuttle is planning on exploring this planet, and for some reason there's children aboard the space shuttle. But while they're exploring, and this is being broadcast all over, I'm assuming, the world, which we only see Japan, but there's also a janitor, or what we assume is a janitor, strolling around some kind of building, I don't know. Anyways, the space shuttle goes toward the planet Nemesis. This is the footage that we're getting now in the Power Rangers, is them exploring the planet, and it's just a wasteland. We'll find more about Wasteland. Well, it's Pandora in this footage, but we know her as Rita Repulsa. She loves Wasteland, but they find the dumpster, like dumbasses, open the seal, and that's when we're introduced to air villains. And we find out the little janitor guy is a little more than just a janitor, because for some reason he's got this big ass ear and he can hear onto planet Nemesis. I don't know who he's yelling at, but he's yelling, "Don't open it, it's the seal." But, you know, he's just yelling at nothing, basically. Of course, they open it, and then we're introduced to the villains of Zoo Ranger. And all our little dudes have different names, of course. Like, Babu is actually named Bookback. Squawk, his actual name is Topat, or Tupat. Finster is called Leprechaun, and Goldar, who's actually called Griffazar. I think it's Griffazar. That's his name, Griffazar. He has his wings in this. Well, we'll be rewatching a lot of the Zoo Ranger footage along with the Power Ranger footage, and we're gonna put it all together. Rita is Miss Bandora. She's a witch in both. She actually calls it her old home, Earth. She says, "After 175 million years, I'll have my revenge." The wild thing is, the two astronauts that break the seal get messed up pretty hard. Now we're seeing that this footage is a little bit, it's hard to say, but it's a little more adult than what we're used to. Got a little sidetracked. We are talking about Power Rangers. In the Power Rangers footage, we're just shown that Rita plans on destroying the first planet, I guess habited planet, that's closest to her, and that just so happens to be Earth.
That's when I destroy the nearest planet!
Keep those fruit shakes flowing, Ernie.
And now, strictly American footage in Power Rangers. We're introduced to our 5 heroes: Kimberly, Jason, Zach, Trini, and Billy.
Nice recovery, Zach.
Yeah, thanks for teaching me, Jason.
No problem.
That was awesome, Kimberly.
Thanks, Trini.
Hey, fellas. Yo, Billy, what's up?
Well, I think I'm mentally and physically prepared for my first karate class.
Oh, and let's not forget Bulk and Skull, the bullies of the show. I guess they're bullies. I don't know. Sometimes they're dicks and sometimes they're just stupid.
About that double date we talked about?
Yeah. What about it?
Sorry, guys.
What's the matter? We're not good enough for you?
Leave us alone, Bulk.
Oh, yeah? Make me.
Yeah. Make me. Him. Think him. Hey, you heard what she said.
Oh, what do you know? The dancer wants to be a fighter.
It's okay, Zach. We can handle these two.
Oh, and speaking of Zach, let's have a little fun fact for a second. The actor that played Zach on the show, Walter Emmanuel Jones, is actually missing a finger on his left hand. And I would say they hit it very well, but after watching these first little clips, they didn't. But as kids, you just don't really notice.
Let's show him some karate moves, Skull.
You guys should definitely join Jason's karate class.
Okay, so now we got footage of Rita in her palace on the moon. And you know, she's just ready to mess up the planet. But the thing I want to talk about is this scene right here where it shows the actual palace. But in the Japanese footage, it actually does a close-up of her palace. And it says Bandora Palace. Wait, it actually says Bandra Palace. But they called her Bandora earlier. I don't know. It's all in the same. We'll just go with it. And this actually comes from the second episode. Or at least we see it in the second episode for the very first time of Zoo Ranch. Back to the American footage, we see Billy kind of sucking it up in martial arts class. And it makes me wonder why people were so upset about this show being too violent when it actually has a halfway decent message about martial arts and fighting. It's like they didn't actually watch the show but complained about it.
I'm just not good at this.
Billy, don't worry. I mean, even I was a beginner once. Chimbi. All right, class, what is it that martial arts helps us to develop? Billy?
Courage, kindness, integrity, fitness, loyalty, and discipline.
Teach us how to beat people up.
Yeah!
Martial arts was not developed to hurt others.
The show had its cheesiness and slapstick humor with Bulk and Skull, but like most kid shows, it actually tried to teach you a little something. In this case, it was violence wasn't always the answer, and don't go looking for trouble, and find other ways to fix a conflict. Unless, of course, there's a giant monster destroying the city, and then you have to do something about that. Okay, the show is violent, but it's not that bad. Especially when you go back and watch the Lost pilot episode and see them fighting in the bowling alley. I touched on that in its own separate episode, but if you watch that and you compare the first part of this episode, they toned it down a lot and put more stuff in there that would teach kids. But back to Rita wanting to destroy the Earth. It's a weird transition, but here we go. Everyone thinks it's an earthquake. Power Rangers, they're fixing to be teleported and sent to the command center to meet Zordon, who's not named Ultron, but Zordon, and Alpha 5 for the very first time.
Oh my gosh, what's happening?
This is too weird. Hold
This isn't exactly the mall, is it?
This place is magnificent.
I don't get it. How'd we end up here?
I just want to know where here is.
Well, maybe the answer's in these controls.
No, don't touch that. Whoa!
Comparing this to the Lost pilot, this is 100 times better. Billy's just not like touching on stuff other than the controls. At least it makes sense as to why he's touching on the controls and not just being weird about it. But now Zordon tells them that they have to save the world. They're not all about it, just like in the pilot episode. It's basically the same as the pilot except the bowling alley scene. But we're introduced to the juice bar, which is an ongoing thing in Power Rangers, is Ernie's juice bar. You know, they tell Zordon no, they leave. They're walking outside the command center, and this is where we get some footage. It's like we're getting old footage reused, and then more old footage reused, because we get to see a little bit of the pilot episode. And I say that, and I know it's from the pilot episode because Jason is wearing the exact same white shirt that he was wearing in that pilot episode, and we actually get a little glimpse of the original actress that played the Yellow Ranger. And to take a quick little step back, the viewing globe that the Power Rangers are looking at, and they see Rita and Goldar, that is actually right after they got out of the dumpster. After the seal was broken, they were flying through town or whatever. This is the Zoo Ranger footage, and you know, destroying everything, basically telling everybody to F off. They're going to destroy everything. And the Zoo Ranger footage, this is where Pandora meets the old man, and we see that he's a little more than just an old man.
山を久しぶり。誰かと思ったら白魔同士のバーザじゃないの。魔女パンドーラ。
In the Japanese footage, it turns out that the old man was actually Barza, who Rita had stole all his spells away, or at least she thought she did. And he goes into the building that he's on, and I suppose this building has been there for a long time, because he punches a bunch of buttons on the elevator and he goes down to the secret little cavern, and that's when we're introduced to the Zoo Rangers. But we also find out that Pandora, still has the space shuttle that she has shrunk down and has the little children inside of it. And that's when, we'll get to it, but that's when we see the space shuttle footage later on in another Power Ranger episode.
So you think you can stop me, do you?
Can we just take a second and admire how well that dub was? Like, it almost looks like that's actually what she said.
So you think you can stop me, do you?
So Rita sees that Zordon has recruited some teenagers. I don't know why teenagers is such a big deal to either one of them. Her and Alpha 5, they're just not about teenagers in this show. We get to meet putties for the very first time. The costumes, you can tell that the American version, or the American footage, they didn't get all the costumes, but they got a few compared to like the Zoo Ranger footage, and we'll get to those. Some of the putties, some of them look completely different. Like, some of them is just like, I don't know, roasted and have like different kinds of fists. Have you ever noticed the first time the heroes of the story meet, I guess, like the little goony henchmen that's just there to fill time, basically get their ass kicked? Like Bebop and Rocksteady. First time the Ninja Turtles met them in the 1987 cartoon, they were tough to deal with the first time, just like the putties are. After that, it's not really that bad. But, you know, the Power Rangers getting their ass kicked, they can't handle it. So they use their power coins, their morphers, for the very first time and turn into the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Zordon, they've done it. They made the metamorphosis.
Good. Teleport them to Angel Grove City. Rita just sent down Goldar.
Right away, Zordon.
We're teleporting again.
Where are we going?
We're gonna save the world! Alright, let's do it!
Back in the day when I was a kid, I always thought it was kind of strange that they just didn't finish off the putties that they were fighting. The whole reason they morphed. And then Zordon just instantaneously teleported them to fight Goldar. Knowing now that they probably just didn't have the Power Ranger costumes when they were filming this, it makes a little more sense. But have you ever seen the Zoo Rangers morph? It's good, but it's not as rockin' good as the Power Rangers. But the footage stays the same from the American and then the counterpart, the Japanese footage, where they fight Goldar on the building and the putties. Back to the American footage, we see Rita Repulsa.
Face Nitwits, they're pathetic.
How about making Goldar big with your wand?
I always have to do everything myself. Mister, I'll deal with you later. Oh, dear.
And I know it's showing the Japanese footage, but it's you know what I mean. So Rita gives Goldar a chubby, and we see the Power Rangers use their Zords for the very first time.
This is kicking. This is Billy. All systems go.
Pretty here, ready to rock. Hey, nice stereo.
They run Goldar off, and then we get the normal Rita is upset at the very end of the episode type scenario. Most of the time she has a headache. You get used to seeing that.
I can't believe they beat us back.
This is all your fault, Squat. You should have helped.
Goldar, you failed.
It won't happen again, Empress.
Shut up, I've got a headache.
You know, I've watched a little bit of the Zoo Ranger footage. I've not watched it all. I have a pretty good idea how it goes on. I know how it ends. I know most of everything that happened, but there's still some stuff that's new to me. And seeing this giant ass knight-looking creature like tower over Rita's, at the time, I guess, castle. It's boggling because I'm really curious as to what's going on, and I want to watch more now. You know, there's quite a bit of things to touch on here. Like, the actor that portrayed Zordon, I think, filmed all his stuff in like one day because they just kept reusing the footage they had over and over, because I guess it was simple to do with how Zordon's portrayed. And the Yellow Ranger is a male in the Japanese footage and a female in the American footage, which I probably don't need to point that out, but just to say I did. Power Rangers back at the command center. Zordon's giving them the rules to becoming a Power Ranger and what they have to do.
Never use your power for personal gain. Second, never escalate a battle unless Rita forces you. And finally, keep your identity secret. No one may know you are a Power Ranger.
Wait a second.
Yes, Zachary, what is it?
I'm not sure we're all up to this. I mean, we were pretty lucky this time.
Luck had nothing to do with it. The five of you have come together to form as fine a group of superheroes as there has ever been.
No way. Really?
That pretty much concludes episode 1 of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And this took a little longer than I thought it was going to, so yeah, this might actually take 100 years to finish. But I hope you enjoyed it, and if so, let me know. If you didn't, you know what they say. Opinions are like assholes. They're full of shit. But I'll catch you guys next time.